Something's coming.
Stand by. Hold on to your hats. Here we go.
All right, so we're recording, and I don't know how to do intros. So we are here with Stephanie Crawford and myself. We're back from Fantastic Fest. This is Steph's second film festival, first being South by, which was earlier this year, and now Fantastic Fest. So if you could let me know how you feel, I know you're sick, but how you feel, you can leave the sickness out of it. Because everybody,
I think it's important though. I caught the famous fantastic flu.
yeah, true. So you can talk about, but let's save that.
But
Or
here's what
let's just
pisses me off. It's not a flu. I got my flu shot before I came. It's a cold, but it's not alliterative. So I guess that's why.
There you go.
This
So
is the
yeah,
interesting stuff.
everybody gets it. That's your initiation, actually. That's how we
Oh,
initiate
nice.
people at Fantastic Fest. Is everybody gets sick. I got sick way back when. So how was it being at the best genre film festival in the universe?
Okay, yeah. Well, it's the best I've ever been to. It's also been the worst, but mostly it was the best. Yeah, it was fantastic. You have to get that out of the way. It's out of my system. We're okay now. No, it was great. It's just a week plus of being allowed to be hyper focused on movies and genre movies, no less, like offbeat, international, a lot of times independent, but there's big studio stuff too. It becomes your whole world, which is kind of amazing and freeing. All your concerns revolve around getting to a screening, seeing the movies you want, and talking to everyone else about them. It's been a bit of an adjustment getting back to real life, honestly. But I had a great time.
Well, that's good. I love when new people come to Fantastic Fest because one, it's newbies and it's nice to have like fresh meat at the festival just because you get to live vicariously through them to watch them suffer through sleep, lack of sleep, therefore, and trying to decide what to watch because everything's playing at the same time. Mostly the films just play twice, sometimes three times if there's a buzz. Watch them get really excited for a secret screening and all the rumors that happen with that. It is a lot of fun to watch.
Their hopes get dashed when the secret screening isn't what they wanted it to be.
Yeah, everybody wanted cats, and then, it's not cats. But
it's not even Dr. Sleep. If we're not going to get cats or Dr. Sleep, why are we here?
So this is my 11th.
Hot damn.
Fantastic Fest, 10th or 11th. So I've been covering Fantastic Fest. Well, I did it through, I believe, Pop Shifter when I very first started writing, and then I have covered it on the Screamcast. So I think maybe 5 years on the Screamcast covering. So if you listen to the show, you kind of know everything about it as far as kind of the details. Like Steph said, it's just a week of movies, and that's all you care about. And you eat, drink, and watch movies, and you are sleep deprived, and it's tough. And it's even tougher if you do like We Go as Press, because there's actually an additional screening beforehand, which I was actually there in the mornings because I was doing the Vinegar Syndrome table. So this year, again, this is the second year in a row that Vinegar Syndrome has been part of Fantastic Fest, which we've had two films screen this time. which was awesome. We had a table for the whole week. But I was there in the mornings, and I was typically getting there as the press screenings were letting out.
Oh, wow.
And watching the people come out of the press screenings and just look at me like they just got fucking punched in the face multiple times, come up to the table and like, they're like, hey, what'd you go see? So that's the one thing is you just have to get used to. What are you seeing next? What did you see?
Yes.
How did you like?
Yes.
Very common questions, but that's just part of the game. It's just that if you go, you're going to be asked that countless times.
I actually stopped to think about that once. I'm like, wow, it's a really repetitive conversation. And I thought to myself, when does this conversation ever happen? When you're at film festivals, that's it. So it's kind of like
Right,
a great kind of repetitiveness.
But yeah, you don't really mind it. It's not bothersome.
Right.
The only time I guess it is a little bothersome is when you're at South by, just because of the conversations that people have. Like South by is a different type of animal. One, it's not strictly a genre festival. It's way, way bigger. But also at the same time, the people that go aren't really your people, I guess you could say, or everybody's people. I mean, they're still great. Like, it's still not knocking South by patrons at all.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different animal.
A lot of people there talking about content
right,
creation.
Yeah, and you're there at Fantastic Fest in your domain. Like, you're there with people just like you. But anyways, so you just got to get used to those questions. And so if you've never been to Fantastic Fest or you're new to the show, what I just said, and then it literally has parties, food eating contests, karaoke, there's a big after party, just numerous things going on. You can't attend everything and you can't see every movie. So once you kind of been there a couple times, you understand the flow of things and what's cool, what is more or less your shit, and what's not your shit. For me, like, I don't go to the debates. Did you go to the debates?
I went to the feud. I didn't
You went
go
to the feud, yeah.
debates.
So the debates is something that a lot of people don't seem to do. It used to be a little bit bigger, I think. But I think they've kind of toned it down a lot over the years.
I think so, because people were really talking it up to me and I was super hyped, and I went there and there were a lot of empty seats and the energy was like, it was still fun, but it was sold to me as a much bigger occasion. So yeah, it was still fun. And like at the Draft House, you really can't talk. There's multiple ads where you can't talk, you can't look at your phone, which is great. But during the feud, you can just get drunk and scream at everyone on the stage. That was really fun. Really feels like a camp because it's all in one location and you get to know everyone.
Yeah, well, I was talking about the debates for a second, and I know people get them always confused. But you're right.
Oh yeah, I still can't. No, the debates I wanted to go to, but I think it was early on, and my body wasn't used to the pace yet, and I'm old and boring, so I was like, that's okay.
Well, like, I think both you're not wrong when you started talking about the feud, because I have been going to the feud for a little while, and this one was so toned down, it seemed. But honestly, it is more or less who's on stage.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, and also the stage was a lot smaller, it seemed, this year. And everybody's a little bit huddled together, a little bit more. Like, I don't know. It's just, like I said, I guess it really depends on who's on stage, because there was a lot of fun on the left-hand side with I mean, Mike Vanderbilt made it a lot of fun. There goes my dog. She has kennel dogs. Don't worry, people.
She's like, put me on the stage. I'll bring you showmanship.
So, you had Mike Vanderbilt that really did, kind of a fun job as far as like bringing the Malort and just acting a fool. And then on Andre Holland, who was in The Death of Dick Long, he actually made that thing pretty hilarious when he
And Trace Thurman, I thought
oh
was
yeah,
great.
yeah, because basically they were doing it right. They were all getting drunk and pre-gaming, getting drunk, and then kind of letting loose, which is a lot of fun. Some people take the feud seriously. Other ones just want to have fun. And honestly, it's a lot better when people just get shit-faced and go crazy. Nacho Vigalondo is kind of notorious as far as the feud because he has created chaos on stage by throwing chairs at people, and it
Wow.
it really has gotten out of hand. So, but yeah, it's toned down a little bit because I think Fantastic Fest is still kind of, this is so it's like 2 years ago, everything happened, which it should have, which was a good thing. So I think Fantastic Fest is still kind of recovering. Jazz, you okay? Fantastic Fest is still recovering from that, as well as, getting their shit together, coming up with even better solutions and moving forward and having that light at the end. So this is the first year where, kind of the clouds have cleared a little bit more, and kind of getting out of their shell. Not really out of their shell. That might be not the best way to put it. Just kind of getting out there and getting that vibe back, taking the chances with films too, because I know with the past 2 years they were very careful with what they've played, mainly because of the content, and then this year it was kind of crazy, which was great, because that's what we want. We want genre films. We want movies that push limits. We that's what we go to Fantastic Fest for. We go to Fantastic Fest for wild movies and movies that push the envelope, which is wonderful. The Golden Globe did that. That movie fucked me up. But yeah, I think everything's going in the right direction, and it's very positive, and it is nice to see new faces and kind of even more people and newer people coming to this thing. So as like we were talking about, there's many events, and you went to the feud. I was at the feud. I helped with the questions every year. So pretty much the night before and the night of, I always help with the questions, and every year I get asked, "Hey Brad, why aren't you in the feud?" And it's like, fucker, I know all the answers because I was helping with the questions.
So do you think there'll ever be a year where you forego helping with the questions so you can be in it?
Yeah, that's actually what they said. Max, who does the hosting, is the host of the feud. He said, next year I just won't include you on the email, and we're going to put you in the feud. And I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds great, because I've actually never done it. I've always kind of been behind the scenes in the feud. So
right.
could be fun. I'll drink Malort.
Don't yawn when you say that. It should be fun. Whatever.
So, but as far as events, the only other event that I attended was Zach Carlson and Brett Berg finally, after 2 years of waiting, unleashed their 100 best kills. The Sweetest Taboo, 100. Basically, so traditionally, they haven't done it in the past 2 years, but before all the other Fantastic Fest, they've had 100 best kills. So 100 best kills involving whatever it may be. This year, it was kids. So 100 best kid kills. Did you go to kid kills?
No, I had on my schedule, but some things happened. I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So how was it?
It was amazing. And the reason for the delay is that this was supposed to play 2 years ago when kind of everything happened at Fantastic Fest. And by, just thought process and what would be not a good idea is that they pulled the kid killing.
Wasn't time to see a bunch of dead kids.
Yeah, it was just like everything else was kind of unfolding. 3 billboards got pulled. Just everything was, burning, which like I said, it should have. I was happy about it, but also felt bad for everybody behind the scenes at Fantastic Fest, that kind of didn't have control over everything that was happening, of course. But that was something that I think that Zach and the programming team had it was a good idea to pull it. So being that last year was kind of the new entry into Fantastic Fest of being restructured, and it was too soon. So this year they were like, fuck it, let's do it. So 2 years in the making, or 2 years of waiting, 100 Best Kills, Kid Edition. And it was hilarious. Watching kids get slaughtered on screen. There was more than 100 kills because there were scenes with numerous children getting butchered and slaughtered, and it was a lot of fun. It's very much kind of like the same thing with the feud, where they dim the lights when they play the clips, but other than that, the lights come on. Zach is basically doing a commentary and talking throughout. He's absolutely hilarious. Great guy. So yeah, I was glad that 100 Best Kills played. And I guess now we can talk about some movies.
Yeah, I do want to say that hopefully I can go next year. And next year, one of my goals is to become friends with Zach Carlson. Because I'm such a fan of so many things he does. And literally everyone talks about how nice he is.
Yeah.
And I mentioned too, he looks like my grandpa when he was a young man. And that just makes me like automatically like him. So this is probably weird to include, but damn it, Zach, you're going to be my friend.
Yeah, you will. Zach's one of my best friends, and good guy all around, and beats anybody at fucking knowledge on movies, that's for sure. Dude's insane. So other than that, I guess we can jump into one thing that was really cool I thought about Fantastic Fest this year was it seemed that they were going back to their roots of when they kind of first started. And that's something that I enjoyed because I was brought up on Fantastic Fest that was their 6th year, I think, at the time. So when I started going, it was a lot more unknown movies, which I loved. It was stuff that I never heard of. It was stuff that wasn't even on my radar. And then slowly through the years, as Fantastic Fest grew, more and more studio films were involved. A lot of films that were anticipated by a lot of people were scheduled, so it wasn't much of a surprise. And it was honestly just a few here and there oddballs that were thrown in. And slowly the repertory screenings kind of dissipated. They all kind of went away. There was just a few, but it was usually in light of some other screening. Like when they did, I'm drawing a blank, but it doesn't matter. It's, they really kind of refrain from doing so many rep screenings and give slots to big studio films. So this year was awesome because they had plenty of repertory screenings. They had films from all over and things I had never even heard of or on my radar, plenty of surprises. And it felt like Fantastic Fest again. I've always loved Fantastic Fest and I've always loved the programming, but this year was a little bit more special because it felt like old times, like when I very first started going. Yeah.
That's cool. And I agree with you. I thought it was a great mix. But I do have something mildly controversial to bring up and ask you.
Oh, all right.
Dun.
Do it.
So there was a big force at this year's Fantastic Fest. Netflix. There are a lot of Netflix films screening.
Okay.
And this is my first time at Fantastic Fest, so I'm not really sure how it works when you have a corporation that produces its own movies as a sponsor. And was this unusual? Someone having this big of a presence, or?
Over the course of the past 2-3 years, Netflix has taken a bigger part in Fantastic Fest. And I know that there has been a lot of complaints, even like on the Fantastic Friends group, online, on Twitter, people were complaining about Netflix. Of all people, I am the one that really fucking hates Netflix. I really dislike Netflix. I have disliked Netflix for a long, long time. But that said, I do think it's cool that they're there for two reasons. One, they actually do bring some good genre films with them. They kind of don't fuck around. They do the same thing at South by too. They don't really bring their big studio stuff. Some things actually get acquired in the process of playing at TIFF, and then they go to Fantastic Fest. They've already been booked, and Netflix has acquired them. Kind of like how The Platform happened. The Platform originally wasn't a Netflix movie, but was acquired at TIFF and then made its way to Fantastic Fest and then was a Netflix film. That said, it's the only place I'll actually probably watch a movie that's Netflix only, because I don't watch the app. I don't go to the app and watch things typically. Very, very seldom I do. And here's my theory on that. If it's a film that is being publicized and commercials everywhere and everybody's talking about it, 95% of the time it's shit. It's the films that you never hear about that are actually the decent ones on Netflix. And the decent ones have actually played at Fantastic Fest. And that's pretty badass. Like The Night Comes for Us, Frank Grillo and the Willman. Like, all that shit is really, really fucking good. The Platform, that was another one. So that said, the other part of that is that Fantastic Fest, it takes a lot to put on a festival. It's a lot of money. Fantastic Fest pays for people to come, for filmmakers and sometimes guests. They get a pass. They get their basically their airfare paid for. On certain things, it's not everybody that's included on the film, but there are certain people that do get sent there. All the free beer, all the stuff that they provide. It takes a lot to put on a festival. Lots and lots of money. And to have a corporation as powerful as Netflix that actually does bring genre cinema with them, they're not playing big budget bullshit. They usually play their smaller films at there, which is great. Because it was like Dolomite Is My Name, which that was kind of cool because that's resurrecting the Dolomite movies.
Right.
In the
Showed the 35 millimeter print there the day after, I think, which is really
right.
cool.
And that's awesome. They played In the Shadow of the Moon, which I didn't really care for, but Jim Mickle got his start basically at Fantastic Fest. He's a Fantastic Fest alumni. He's had countless movies there. The Platform is very, very very much a Fantastic Fest film. Like, that feels like when you watch, after you've been going to Fantastic Fest for a while, you could understand, you'll say that's a Fantastic Fest movie. I could totally see that playing there. And I'm sure there's some other Netflix movies I'm missing, but they really do bring kind of their A game with them. And that's something I can really dig. So that's kind of what I say to people whenever they say, oh, there's a big Netflix presence. Like, that's a big corporation, I do agree. Netflix has some really bad shit, but also at the same time, they have some really good shit that really isn't focused on sometimes on their app and being, their promotional stuff. They're always kind of tucked away. And, and I'm fine with that. It was even that the guy that directed Green Room and Murder Party and Blue Ruin, he had his other film. It was a Netflix film that played there like last year. I didn't like it at all, but I can't even really remember the name of it. Jeremy Saulnier is the director's name. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. I think it's very needed because because of sponsorship in general. They need their money. I think Netflix is a cool one in that aspect because they really do bring some good genre films with them.
Yeah, I figured I had to bring it up because a lot of people were talking about it and complaining about it while I was there. And the Netflix movies I did see there, they did seem very thoughtfully chosen. They weren't trying to like shoehorn like this coming of age drama totally belongs at Fantastic Fest. They did fit in with the other films.
And that's the thing with people is they don't understand that Netflix is acquires things too. Like they're not produced by Netflix. Like some movies are made by Netflix, like even TV shows like Stranger Things and things like that. But a lot of films are self-produced by producers, and then they get acquired by Netflix, and then it becomes a Netflix film. Netflix is kind of like Trauma in that way. Like everybody says, "Oh, this Trauma movie." And it's like Trauma didn't make that; they just acquired it because they bought libraries basically when they were at the top of their game.
That
But
Trevor
anyways,
Fellini movie.
what is it?
that movie Fellini made with Trauma.
Yeah, exactly. Fellini, and Lloyd Kaufman together again. But anyways, I think it's needed, and I don't frown upon it. If Netflix was playing like Max Landis's Bright, yeah, that would probably be bullshit.
Oh, that would have been rough.
But they're not. They're picking really good genre films, and also people that belong at Fantastic Fest, like Jim Mickle. Dude's had like 3 movies play at Fantastic Fest, so it's kind of nice to have him back in a bigger capacity, even if the movie kind of blew. But yeah, I dig it. But as far as repertory screenings, they actually had a decent amount this year. AGFA kind of took over on that, which I was a little, I like AGFA, of course, but it really felt like a lot of promotional stuff for them as far as like their upcoming releases.
Yeah, everyone did, and it'll be out on DVD and Blu-ray next year.
Yeah, and it was just one of those things where AGFA usually does a pretty good job of kind of curating their content. And this year there was just a lot of stuff that was thrown in. I felt that really, like, I don't know, it just didn't really fit. And I know that you and I saw a couple things. Like they did a great job with, the kind of the sidebars. As far as like, the Mexican genre sidebar. That was really great. So Steph and I saw, Ship of Monsters.
It was one of my favorites there. What a blast.
Which was fantastic. That was new to me. It was very reminiscent to the goofy Universal monster movies.
Way goofier. It was goofy on another level, but it was also very clever and self-aware. I've never seen anything like it. It had a little bit of literally everything in it.
Yeah, it was
so fun.
Like science fiction, other planet, cowboy western
romance.
Musical, and the romance, and then numerous monsters, fucking vampires. Like it's really is just a kind of kitchen sink of everything. But anyways, it's that was really great. Did you see the what is it, the Black Pit of Dr. M?
I did. That one was much more traditional. I loved it, but it fell more into the gothic horror segment where you had like deformed people and locked up insane people and mad scientists. And so that was a very classic gothic horror movie, but it was still a lot of fun.
And it did great with that. And then also one of my other favorites, Trampa Infernal, Hell's Trap, that they did, which is Predator, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Final Terror,
First Blood,
Just Before Dawn. Basically, all those like genre pictures mashed up into one about a killer killing some people that are hunting a bear, which is funny because it actually would pair well with Berserker. Yeah, because they're hunting. I think bears killing everybody out in the woods, and it just turns out to be a killer. But anyway, spoiler alert. But yeah, Trampa Infernal was great, which I've seen, but I actually went to go see it just because I wanted to see it on the big screen. Like that stuff was really good. And then they also prepared with us for Vinegar Syndrome, which we did Tammy and the T-Rex,
Which
Prey.
was so fun.
Yeah, Tammy and the
And
T-Rex.
so great to watch with a crowd.
Yeah, it totally knocked the house down twice. We got 2 screenings on that, which was great. And then they paired with Severin with the Peanut Butter Solution, which is a wonderful daytime movie. Like first thing, I was telling everybody, like they were like, "Hey, have you seen the Peanut Butter Solution?" I was like, "If it plays in the morning, see that shit at 11:00. It's gonna play so well," and it did. Which is it's a really weird and goofy movie. But then there was stuff like Limbo, which I understand why they played it. It just, you and I saw Limbo together. It was a shot on video horror film, a female director, but it just didn't, nothing really worked for it.
Yeah, it was more interesting as a snapshot in time and of working with very little resources, and that, but not entertaining.
It was under an hour, which was good. But the interview, basically the Q&A with the director was way better than the movie, because it actually went into detail about her life and also where she came from as far as working with Gary Wilston so much, which I actually made jokes about before seeing the movie. I was with Nolan McBride and Paul Farrell, Emily, and then which is it Horrella? Is that her name on Twitter? I always forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we were talking about kind of the wave type media where you would send in a script, pay people to bring your fantasy to reality. And she was actually a star in a lot of Gary Wilson's strangulation movies. And so she actually made a career for herself and, kind of broke out of that, doing a lot of genre pictures, became a director, which her stories was a lot better than the movie. But I understand why they played it. But it was boring.
Yeah, well, Annie Cho from Bleeding Skull did most of those, and she was great. She was very enthusiastic and asked great questions. And I think she was kind of like a quiet superstar of the festival because she did great Q&As.
Oh yeah, she's Annie, and Annie is fucking great. She's wonderful. She's very energetic, and I always love to hear her speak. And that was kind of the highlight of Limbo for me, not so much the movie. So I'm actually glad I went to see it because I got to see that. The other one that kind of fell flat, I didn't see it at Fantastic Fest, but you saw She-Mob, right?
Yes.
Kind of the same thing, I feel like. It's there.
It played like gangbusters with the crowd.
Yeah?
Yeah, even like the long kind of dull moments, especially at the beginning, it created such an awkward silence that the audience would just burst into laughter at the same time because everyone felt so awkward. Yeah, maybe it's a crowd thing. I had a lot of fun at that one. But again, the Q&A, that was an AGFA Something Weird joint. Super interesting. I'm actually definitely going to pick up that disc because it sounds like if they do a commentary, that will be really interesting.
Yeah, that's a movie I saw by myself. So
yeah, that's probably why. And I also saw the McPherson tape,
which is rad as shit. So.
It was amazing. I didn't think seeing like an hour-long shot on video UFO thing on the big screen. I was looking forward to it, but it was so fun. And one of the best Q&As, they had like one of the actors as a UFO conspiracist plant thing, like, why are you still telling people this is fake? And, it's a goofy gimmick, but it really worked. And it was just a blast. Like when I would hear about Fantastic Fest before going, that was the kind of thing I imagined.
Yeah, and it was I didn't go to the McPherson tape screening, but I was it was funny because I was at the booth And this guy came up to the booth, and he was like, oh, cool, cool selection. He's like, I watched a lot of these when I was in school, and I looked at his name and I was like, yeah, I didn't even look at, because they are labeled film guests, but I didn't even see that. I just saw his name and I was like, Did, didn't you direct Incident in the Lake County? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, holy shit, you're the McPherson tape guy. And he was like, yeah, that's my film. I was like, holy shit, man. I was like, you fucked me up. He was like, that's not my fault. That's your parents for letting you watch it. And we talked for, I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes, because basically I said, I was been a fan of the McPherson tape. And I said, I was actually introduced to the remake first. And that's what I saw on television. And it was on HBO or something, because there wasn't any commercials. And I thought that shit was real. And it really did scare me, because there's nothing, I'm not scared of, snakes, anything like that. I'm not scared of monsters, not scared of the dark. I've just never, ever been scared of anything. The only thing that gets me is fucking aliens.
Really?
And yeah, especially the grays. That shit fucking freaks me out, because I'll say it right now, I'm a believer in that shit. So have you ever seen the remake of the McPherson tape?
No, he talked about it in the Q&A. It sounded really interesting, but this was a cool thing because it's something you grew up with, but I had never heard about any of this until I was reading about all the movies that we're going to show. So I just think it's cool that with the rep screenings that you can have people that said, oh, I love this as a kid, or I loved it in college. And you'll have like noobs like me be like, what's this? This looks interesting.
Well, that's cool, but
It is cool. I like
that's
that
part
much.
of, I always like finding people that haven't seen shit, because again, I get to live vicariously through them, because that's why I like showing people movies at my house that I've seen that they haven't, because I get to watch them watch it for the first time. And then,
Right.
it's the same thing with my kid. Like, I loved watching a lot of movies with Willow because I got to watch her reaction, but yeah, so we were talking, and I told him, I said I saw it, like, I think on HBO or something, and I actually didn't start it from the beginning. I came in like halfway, and the aliens were already doing their siege on the house. And I said, honestly, it was that one scene where the boy has to really use the bathroom, so he goes upstairs, and he realizes that they're upstairs already, and he sees one in the hallway, and he runs to his room, shuts the door, and locks it. And then he slowly backs up, and the camera's on the door. And then there's a noise to the right, and he shifts, and then the light shines on a gray, and the gray slips down. And then the gray slowly lifts up next to him, and he's shivering and crying, and he starts pissing his pants, and the gray is incredibly close to him. And I tell you what, that scene fucking freaked the fuck out of me. And I honestly was scared to death of the dark for a little while.
Oh no.
So,
I have to see this.
and it's really funny, because it's the time, and I did this later on, because I've had I never really had too much or any trauma in my life. So I always heard when people block things out, like, oh, I blocked that out. Like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that time in my life. And I was always kind of like, how's that possible? And so I was we used to make short films and stuff like that into my late teens, early 20s with a group of people. And so one time we were sitting down, and I said, hey, what I want to do is I want to have us at a party, and we're going to make like a found footage thing. And I said, there's going to be this big noise in the back, and they had this big wooded area behind the house. And I said, we can shine some lights, and then we go up there, and we realize it's aliens that have landed, and then they see us, and then we're going to run back to the house. They're going to siege on the house. And my buddy goes, dude, this sounds a lot like the McPherson tape. And I said, the what? And he said, the McPherson tape. You're like literally talking about the McPherson tape. And I said, what is that? And he said, you just, he said, I don't know where to get it. And I found it online. And I watched it that night. And oh my God, I tell you what, I was watching and I was like, I blocked all of this out because this
Wow.
terrified the shit out of me. I forgot that this is actually what started my obsession with kind of researching and reading about the greats. Like I own every Whitley Strieber book. I have watched every Travis Walton interview. I have Travis Walton documents. I am obsessed with this kind of thing. Not to the point of being crazy or a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I just believe, So it like brought back everything. And that night, I'm like in my 20s, shivering on my computer because I'm watching this and I'm like, this fucked me up. And it's so good.
Is that why you didn't go to the screening?
No, I didn't go to the screening because I've seen the McPherson tape and the remake a few times. Like I love it. It's so good.
We got a little alien toy though, Brad. You missed out on it.
Shit. Fuck. Well, anyways, I was talking to Dean about this. We're on a first name basis now.
Cool.
We were talking about all this, and he said, do you believe in that stuff? And he said, I do. That's the reason why I make it. And I said, yeah. I was like, I did a bunch of research because I was writing a screenplay basically about all this shit. And I did an interview with Travis Walton and a few other people that claim that they've been abducted. And I'm also one of those people that say all these people are pretty much full of shit, except I do believe certain things that have happened. So, yeah. Anyways, we had a really fun conversation, told him kind of everything that happened, and he was getting a kick out of it, laughing at my pain. But yeah, we had a good time. And that was, I guess that was kind of the last of the rep screenings, right? Other than the Prey that played.
Yeah.
Oh,
Lyle.
Yeah, Lyle was another one that played.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which, have you seen Lyle before?
No.
Oh, okay. Lyle's good.
I liked it. Yeah, it's from 2014, I think.
Yeah, that was part of their. They had a Queer Sidebar too, which Prey fell under that. Lyle, but also Nightmare on Elm Street 2 with the documentary, where they played the doc and then they played Nightmare on Elm Street 2, right? It was kind of what they did. Yeah, they screened that on 35, which is really awesome. So yeah, great rep screenings this year. That might have missed one or two, but for the most part, that's kind of what I was brought up on with Fantastic Fest in the beginning. So I mean, I did say that, I guess, but I pretty much liked a lot of stuff. The Agatha thing. I think what it was Limbo. Just it was 55 minutes, but it felt like we sat there for 55 hours.
Yeah, I don't regret seeing it, but it definitely was. Okay.
Do you regret sitting next to me because I was so fidgety?
Yeah, we talked about this before, but if you're engaged, you fidget like someone dumped ants on you.
That's when you know I'm not enjoying a movie at all.
You saw me cry during movies, so we're even. Fine.
Well, hey, I cried in movies. I tell you what, when I sat next to some people that didn't like The Arrival, and I sat in The Arrival fucking bawling my eyes out that whole last 30 minutes of the movie. So I got that going for me. Happiness of the Katakuris. That was another one. Did you get to see that there?
Yeah, so I'll backtrack a little bit to lead up to that.
Oh.
So my first night at Fantastic Fest, the screenings usually start at 11, except for the 8 o'clock press screenings, which I said maybe I'd go to, and no, couldn't do it. But the first night, I think the first showing was at 5, and I got to see Jojo Rabbit. And, obviously one of the gigantic ones, and I was super excited. But then I got to see First Love, which is the new Miike film. And I loved it, by the way. Did you see First Love?
No, I have not seen it.
Okay, it was a blast. It was almost like a greatest hits of his late 90s, early 2000s work. But it was a lot of fun, and it had a lot of heart. And I did get to see the screening afterwards. And it was just a celebration of him. They gave a Lifetime Achievement Award. And he was hilarious. And it just became like a celebration of him. And it was great. It was kind of like seeing where an artist is now and where they were like, what, about 20 years ago?
Mm.
So that was a treat. And to me, the night started out really splashy, like celebrities are there. It was like the big movie. And then with both the new movie and then the happiness of the categories, I don't know, like that's the first time I started feeling kind of cozy at Fantastic Fest. I'm like, this is great. It's not just about showing off his new movie, but they're just, yeah, seeing them paired together, it just felt really special, and it felt really loving towards him. Like it wasn't just about them having a big movie they could show off, but that they were really just thrilled that he was making the films he's been making. And they just really wanted him to feel welcome and celebrated. And it was really cool to witness that.
How did that happiness at Katakuri's play at midnight? Well,
it was interesting. It was kind of sleepy, I think. There wasn't a lot of reaction. And I kind of glance around at the audience when I'm in a theater. And there were a lot of people who looked like they were maybe in their early 20s. And I think had no idea what they were about to see. And I would say small handful of people like me who are like, yeah, we finally get to see this on the big screen. It was fun.
Cool.
That's all I say.
And now get your pad and paper ready, or the notes on your phone, or whatever you do to write down. Make a letterboxed I want to see list, and we will go through pretty much everything that we saw at Fantastic Fest. Let's try to maybe keep everything to under 5 minutes. Maybe quick snippets if it's a yay or nay.
Way under 5. And you're the one who goes on. I can do this fast and brutal.
Wow. Insult to flying as well.
It's not an insult, man. We just have different personalities. Let's do this.
All right. So, all right. You go first.
Okay. Well, I went over. I saw Jojo Rabbit, First Love, and the happiness of the Katakuri's. I saw Black Piv Dr. M, which we touched on. I saw The Antenna, which that one, it's a Turkish film. I was very excited to see that. Basically, an apartment building has to install an antenna and terrible things start happening. It's a science fiction film. And it had some great ideas in it, some wonderful visual flourishes. I think there's a lot of talent in there, but boy, oh boy, did it not come together. It was just really not cohesive. The pacing was off. It was kind of a mess, but I would be interested in seeing what the filmmaker does in the future.
That trailer is fucking amazing for that movie.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating because you're like, ooh, you're on to something here. It's just you didn't bake it all the way. I need a little more time in the oven. And then I saw The Vast of Night, which I was going to bring up when we were talking about Netflix, but I guess Amazon acquired it, and that was a big crowd pleaser. That was like a throwback. It was set in New Mexico, which I'm a sucker for. And a little bit of touches of like early Spielberg, but it was basically. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw Vast the Night about a year ago. Yeah,
Okay, what'd you think?
I love the movie.
Yeah,
I think it's
it's in
wonderful.
your wheelhouse with UFOs. But yeah, it was cool to see like um research done in an interesting way, like shown as being exciting and just like kind people trying to figure something out, but super well done and not boring. I loved it.
Yeah, it's incredibly well shot and well edited, and that's
Oh,
a
it's beautiful.
first
Yeah.
time filmmaker too. It's insane.
I know that makes me so angry. So talented right out the gate. And then I saw the new Richard Stanley, Color Out of Space. That was one of the big ones I was excited about. Most people were excited about because it's been so long. And with Mandy, Nick Cage is hot in genre movies right now. Um, I knew based on the H.P. Lovecraft story it's based on, it was going to be messy, literally and figuratively. So I think with um, Stanley, I really like him as a filmmaker, but I also I'm aware of his weaknesses, and I find them interesting. I think he just has a very chaotic mind. I feel like he has a billion ideas every minute, and yeah, I enjoyed Color Out of Space. If you are even a little bit interested in it, I really think you should go out and see it. But um, boy, it's a jumble. It's definitely a jumble. But I did think it was one of the best portrayals of the crazy cosmic shit H.P. Lovecraft writes about, actually portrayed on screen. And that's not easy to do. The guy could not write characters or dialogue, but he could definitely come up with gigantic planet fucking things. So, that's tough for like a filmmaker to balance.
Yeah.
And I saw Ship of Monsters and Lyle and the McPherson tape, and then Strong, Strong, Strong there, and then We Summon the Darkness.
Ooh.
Right. So I'll pull you in for this one because in our group text, you pretty much summed up what I thought, which was like, okay, you have like satanic panic, heavy metal, like just really cute rocker girls going on a road trip and murder mayhem, supposedly comedy, and it's so boring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
it
so
just
many cool elements to it, and I don't understand how it's so boring. Like, it
yeah,
literally has
maybe
a little bit of everything.
yeah, maybe it's just like mixing chocolate cake with like I don't know, lobster bisque. They're great separately, but if you jam them together artlessly, you don't want anything to do with it. But
And
I will
that's what
say,
it felt like. It was like, oh, people like this. People like heavy metal. People like cults. People like hot chicks. Like what? Like all this other shit. And it's just like, wow, you just totally made like this bro movie.
yeah, like nothing felt like they committed to it at all. It just felt like they're kind of going off a list and just checking things.
Right. Yeah. And it's hard to believe that is by the director of My Friend Dahmer because that's such a well-made movie. And it's so like My Friend Dahmer's really fucking good.
I need to.
It's so well structured, it's well edited, like it's a really fucking good movie. And then his next movie is this generic dump to VOD, which it will, quote unquote horror film.
Yeah. Except, who's that actress? Alexandria Daddario.
Yeah,
Never had to do her last
Daddario.
name.
She's wonderful. She's always good, but she's always stuck in these dumb fucking movies.
No, yeah, though she was great in True Detective. No, I did want to point her out. As much as the movie commits to nothing, she fucking fully committed to the mania and the comedy,
Oh yeah,
and
she's
she was
so
at least
good.
having fun. Yeah, she was great. You could just someone on YouTube down the line just isolate all her scenes, and that'll be a fun clip show.
Yeah,
That's
no,
pretty much
yeah,
what I
she
thought.
brings it. She's really good. And I always and the other guy that's super underutilized in the movie is the one guy that gets hurt. I can't remember his name now, but he's so good in all the movies he's in, and I can't. I'm looking it up so I get his name right. Logan Miller. He played
Here.
Kovacs.
Yeah, I think he was too. Who was the blonde actress who was also kind of manic?
Who? Oh, in that was Hassel, Maddie, something like that.
She was great too.
Yeah, she played Val in the and like such a cool names too. Like they all had like really cool names, and Johnny Knoxville's in it, and they just like
right.
But yeah, Logan Miller, he's in so many good movies. He's in that new movie called Prey. He was in Escape Room, which he was great. He's in Love, Simon, which he was excellent in. He's in The Good Neighbor. That was the one movie I really, really liked him in. Have you seen The Good Neighbor?
Mm-mm.
It's so good. James Caan is in it. They basically have this grumpy old neighbor next door, and they basically set up cameras in his house and make him feel like he's going through a real life haunting.
Oh my god, I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, it was called something else when it played at festivals, and then got rebranded as The Neighbor or The Good Neighbor, and then got basically dumped on VOD, and it's really fucking good.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, so James Caan's in it. He's excellent, but they basically break in and rig his house as far as like he is going to go crazy. They're going to record because he's an asshole. So they actually record everything inside of him basically being haunted. But there's a secret that's happening as well that they don't know about, and it's really, really fucking good.
Damn.
Yeah.
Ugh. And Don't Breathe is the one I saw. Ugh. Anyway.
It was what was the name of this movie before? It played at The Waiting. That's what it was. That's a bad name. But yeah, it was called The Waiting, and it premiered at South by, and it was one of these midnight movies, and it played and just brought the house down. And I was
all right, I'll look it up.
I was like,
but we're off topic, Brad. We're off topic.
This fucking movie is going to be a fucking banger. And then it just got dumped. And I'm like, shit. The same thing is going to happen with that other movie with Julianne Moore that we saw at South by that's really fucking good. That horror film, or not Julianne Moore, Helen Hunt. Did you see that movie at South by?
I don't know.
No, I'm drawing a blank. See, these movies are so fucking good, and then you basically never hear of them again.
Yeah, is that part of the heartbreak? You're like, wow, because a film festival, it's kind of its own community. It seems like people can't shut up about this movie. It's going to blow up.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months later, it's like, oh, yeah, what happened to that?
Yeah, it's called I See You. Helen Hunt's in it, and it's a genre mashup movie. And
yeah, I didn't see.
And it's really,
I did
really
not see you.
So cute. Is that all you saw?
No. Okay, and then I saw The Platform. Which you touched on. I loved it. People keep saying Snowpiercer. Fair. Trust me, if you've seen Snowpiercer, you still have not seen The Platform. That one, I think, affected me emotionally. Well, no, not emotionally, but like I was so tense during that movie. That was just a depressing blast. I've never put those two words together, but I've never had so much fun just being devastated before.
Yeah. I think people are relating it to Snowpiercer because of the huge social commentary behind it.
Right, yeah.
But it's not Snowpiercer, no. It literally is about want, need, and giving, really.
And then I saw She-Mob, and then I saw Synchronic, which I was incredibly excited about because I'm a big Benson and Moorhead fan. and I loved it. I don't think it's my favorite of theirs, but it's a time travel movie. I think it takes a really interesting take on it. What I love about their films is they take the time to be emotional and build characters and build very strong character relationships before you get into any kind of genre fare. And so they make these really strong relationships. So by the time things do get insane, you're fully in. And Synchronic is no different. I really loved it. And I thought it was really moving. Did you see it?
No, I did not see that one.
I think it's going to get dads pretty hard. I think it's going to be like dads getting a single tear down their cheek kind of movie. Speaking of, and I saw Come to Daddy, which I think I'm the only person who didn't like it. And I went in.
You're not alone.
Well, okay, cool. I don't know. I just everyone I've talked to was like, "Oh, it's so fun." I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna watch an Elijah Wood movie at Fantastic Fest. I'm legit, man. I'm here." Yeah, it's just Elijah Wood arrives to me as a strange father, but things aren't how they seem. And it just turns into like a gross out, violent, comedic thing. And there are funny moments. And a lot of violence was great and affecting. But I don't know. It just felt like it was jogging a little too quickly through everything. So like nothing made an impact on me. And once it was over, I was like, oh, okay. I felt like it just kind of floated right over my head.
Yeah, I mean, I saw I think at midnight, and I enjoyed it. It was one of those things where it was relatively kind of boring. Like the introduction of him and his dad. I'm like, man, I was like, I hope this gets weird soon. And then when that turning point happens, I was like, wait, there's like another hour of this movie. What the fuck are they going to do? And then it was like, just it kept going and going. And then it ends up, and it's like, if you told me that this is where the movie would have ended up, like I wouldn't have believed you. Like that's such a crazy, like kind of leap, but it was, I liked it. It was what I expected from Aunt Tipson, but it wasn't as, I didn't really find it all that gross and weird. Like most of Ant's ideas and stuff he produced. It seemed a little tame. I was expecting it to be weird, and I think that's why I was let down a little bit. The characters are weird, but as far as like being like gross, I didn't really get that all that much.
The poop thing? You like stabbed him and got it in his bloodstream?
Yeah, I don't.
All right, you're a weirdo, Brad.
I've seen weirder shit at Fantastic Fest. I saw the Greasy Strangler at fucking South by. Like, I don't know.
That's funny. That was South by. Okay, and then I saw Vivarium, which it's kind of opposite to Come to Daddy for me. Everyone seems to say like, oh, it's like a boring Twilight Zone episode. And it's one of those things where I really enjoyed it, but I can absolutely see where people are coming from with that.
It's a boring, really, really boring Twilight Zone episode.
Okay, fair enough.
Great actors and really fucking funny moments, but it doesn't hold.
Yeah, like I did think it dragged on in a few bits, but in a way it's very slowly paced. This young couple gets pulled into a literal suburban hell with like very tenuous rules they kind of have to follow, and there's no escape. But I felt like the pacing, it lulled me into the headspace the film wanted me to be in, and I felt a numbness that to me wasn't from boredom, but was almost just empathizing with the characters. And I do love Jesse Eisenberg with Imogen Poots from The Art of Self-Defense. I think they have such an unusual chemistry because their energies are so different, but they work perfectly together. So for me, it was a lot of fun seeing them together again. So yeah, it's one I would recommend carefully because I do seem to be in the minority of how much I liked it.
Yeah, once because basically the reveal of what they're in happens pretty much like what 15 minutes into the movie. And when they're driving around and they can't get out, I'm like I let out an audible like fuck, this is what this movie's going to be. And I was fucking right. It was like it never did anything for me. Like I could have told you that whole entire I could have told you beat for beat how that movie is going to end up. Like even plot things. It was like this is probably going to happen next. Sure as shit if it didn't. I was like this is how it's going to end probably. Boom, it did. And I was like good lord, like it's just really really generic for me. So sorry to rain on your parade on your Fantastic Fest movie, but you can moving along.
First time going. In the Shadow of the Moon, I saw a Netflix movie, another time travel. This was another one where I thought it looked beautiful. It had some great performances and cool ideas, but it didn't work for me.
It's super generic.
Yeah, very generic. The lead actor, I feel like he wasn't very compelling. He definitely didn't sell the aging process.
God, it's like, so bad. I was like, wait a second. Like, it's like, what, it's every 9 years, right? So,
yeah.
like after like 9 years, I'm like, wait, he still looks the same. And then it was another 9 years. And it's like, bro, you still look the same.
But and then another 9 years, they glued a caveman beard to him.
And then it was like that the hair, that wig, and that fucking beard looked so bad. But they didn't like put any makeup on his face. And it was just
and he's kind of a bland, pretty actor, so he's not putting anything behind
like literally the poor man's Tom Hardy. So basically it goes like this. It's Tom Hardy. All right. Then it's Logan Marshall Green,
who's fucking great, by the way.
And then it goes to shit, what's his name? Joel Kinnaman. And then it goes to this Boyd guy, whatever his name is, Brian Boyd or whatever. He's like it's like they cloned Tom Hardy and he just gets dumber each time. It's like Multiplicity with Michael Keaton.
I did not get a Tom Hardy vibe, but okay.
No, it's kind of like Patrick Wilson. It's like
who's the guy from Avatar? Sam.
Oh my God, Sam Worthington's in there too.
Yeah, it's kind of like Sam Worthington.
Holy shit! No, so it goes Tom Hardy, Logan Marshall Green, Sam Worthington, Joel Kinnaman. Then whatever this guy's name is, Boyd something, Brian Boyd or whatever. Wow, that's amazing. It's kind of like I have the same thing with like Matthew McConaughey. It's like Matthew McConaughey, and then Patrick Wilson, and then Josh Lucas, and then
Josh Lucas,
and then Josh Lucas, and then Cole Hauser.
Damn, you can weird cloning factor.
Yeah,
I don't know why they keep doing this.
Yeah, they like it's like Multiplicity. They just get weirder and dumber, and they're just not good. Like he's like literally he ruined the Predator because he can't act.
Oh,
but Joel Kinnaman can't either. Like you literally need to get Logan Marshall Green or Tom Hardy for each one of these roles.
Yeah, so I don't know. In the Shadow of the Moon, it didn't work for me, though. It wasn't like out and out irredeemably terrible. I just think it was miscast.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 more drafts of the script.
They should have put Michael Hall in that role because Michael Hall was fucking great.
Yeah.
And he actually aged properly.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, and then I saw the second secret screening, which turned out to be The Lighthouse, which was just at TIFF. And that one I was mildly interested in, but what I was suspicious of turned out being true, which was like, an aesthetic film, which is like, okay, it's a seafaring, black and white. We're going to use very old timey language and it'll be kind of funny, but then you'll also buy into it because it's really authentic. And it just, I don't know. If you've seen older movies and if you've read any books, you kind of, it's just tired. I was tired. The Lighthouse, it looks great. Willem Dafoe, as always, completely brings it, but I feel like he's wasted here. It just did not do anything for me. I think it's a great meme movie, but that's about it for me.
It was, once I found out that's what it was, I turned in my ticket.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like,
because I want to see Lighthouse. I have nothing against it. I think Eggers is great, if that's how you say his last name. But it was something I knew it was going to be quiet. I knew kind of how it was. I know how that movie's going to play out, just kind of like how you are. And it was something I didn't want to see at Fantastic Fest because those, like, here's also the thing, because I'm not biased when it comes to Fantastic Fest or festival movies. I get the idea of how people perceive things, and people need to kind of fucking calm down when it comes, because they get this festival bug, and it's like everything they see as a festival is the best movie they've ever seen, and also anything they anticipate won't be bad to them. They'll like make it good. In quiet movies like that, audience react way too much for me to enjoy it. I've actually walked out of Fantastic Fest movies because of how the audience reacts.
Wow.
Yeah, just because I'm actually against the audience type thing. Like, I don't want an audience, like, an audience can, the movie's already enjoyable, but it can be even more enjoyable with the audience, but I don't think an audience makes a movie good. Like, I just think it can kind of heighten that awesomeness to it. Like,
yeah, no, I agree.
So it's also one of those things where, not pertaining to the Lighthouse, but how the audience reacts to that. Like, people were really excited it was the Lighthouse. And in your screening, you can prove me wrong right now, was there a lot of cheering and clapping and, shit like that?
No, you know what? It was kind of funny because I knew there were a lot of people excited for that and wanting to see it, but such a dour movie that you could hear a pin drop. I think a giant crowd like that, it actually hurt the film quite a bit, because some of these films like Tammy and the T-Rex, the more the merrier. So yeah, the Lighthouse is one of those movies that I think a giant crowd actually heard it, because it was a quiet film for the most part.
Yeah, I'm glad I passed on it. I definitely want to see it, but I'll just watch it later.
But then, very different from that, I saw Jallikattu, which was an Indian film after it, which I was really excited about like a wild buffalo tearing through a small community. It was a very different film than what I was expecting, but I loved it. It was like super naturalistic filmmaking, basically just running through the streets the entire time and seeing how people react to basically nature fucking with everything. But the ending went kind of bonkers, which was really cool. That one had a great energy for a crowd.
And it had wonderful cinematography.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, there's like those shots of like all those people coming down with torches off the hill. And then when they surround like the hole where the buffalo is, like, it just looks so good. But I also just like the chaos that ensued once, like, in the masculinity behind of like, I'm going to catch this thing. And then what turns out to be like one guy chasing the buffalo turns out to be like fucking hundreds. And it gets so fucking crazy. And honestly, when it ended, I was like, "That's it? Like, I want more of that." And then it just like because it actually built up to this just explosion, and it was so good. So I really enjoyed it too. I wish I would have saw it with the audience.
Yeah, the mob mentality, how it's portrayed in that movie, it was amazing. And then I saw another Netflix joint, Dolomite is My Name, which was just so fun. It's so well made. It's nothing new when it comes to biopics. It plays out pretty much like how they all do. But it's fun, and I don't think it's syrupy sweet or anything. It's just great performances and just like a celebration of creation. And it was cool seeing Eddie Murphy commit to her role again.
Yeah.
And then I saw The Deeper You Dig, which seemed like a very specific to Fantastic Fest film to me, where it's this family. They make these like micro budget movies together. And this was about a woman who loses her daughter, but the woman has kind of psychic abilities and she's very close to the killer. And, it's a small budget, it's a family making it. They're clunky things to be sure, but it had such a cool vibe to it and some really great moments. It lost its footing a couple times. It relied on CGI that it really shouldn't have. When it was relying more on interesting editing tricks, it was very effective. And I wish they would have stuck to that more than CGI. But I was really glad I saw it. It was really cool to see something really small and chilly like that. It was very atmospheric.
Yeah, I didn't like that movie at all.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't even think. Like, I do like the family aspect. I think that's sweet, but maybe watch that in the comfort of your own home after you make it.
Wow. Okay. And next is one of my favorites, The Death of Dick Long.
Yes.
Which I personally, I wasn't going in super excited for. I wasn't even sure if I saw it, but I saw the second screening because people couldn't stop talking about it. So I was like, oh, okay. And I really like Swiss Army Man. So I'm so glad because, on paper, there's like bestiality and it has a funny title. But it's like this incredibly, it's almost played like Gone Baby Gone when it comes to like the seriousness of parenting and relationships and how it looks like socioeconomics and but it's really funny too, and it's a fun movie, but it has so much heart, and it's rare to see a balance like that. It was great. Like, it's just great filmmaking, great writing, fantastic. I said it again, but really wonderful acting. That one was perfectly cast.
Yeah, I that was probably my favorite film of Fantastic Fest, and I loved it because it's so funny on the content, but it's played 100% straight.
Yeah.
And even when you're laughing at the movie, it's being serious as it's going along. Which honestly I really am kind of new to. With a film I mean, really this movie's a drama when you break it
Yeah.
down. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
is just a full on drama, but what's happening is funny to us, but probably not in that community in real life. And there's a part in the film where I even started tearing up because it was hitting close to home as far as the family aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, man, this shit's fucking funny, but it's also really fucking sad. And yeah, it's just and the acting is perfect. And I I love, love, love the decision that they made. Spoiler free, as far as Earl, the guy that plays Earl, steals the
Uh-huh.
show.
Oh
He's
my God.
fucking
He,
hilarious.
no, he felt like a real dude who just wandered on a set and they're
Yeah.
like, okay, just be yourself.
And
It was like beyond acting.
but there's
It was
such
incredible.
a good choice of cutting him out of the movie for a good portion to really
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
focus on the main character, so that way he wasn't stealing the show anymore. And
And
it
then when
was
he
just,
comes back, you're like, Earl, how
yeah,
you
when he comes,
been?
it's like watching a sequel, because he like comes back, and it honestly, that ending of the movie is so fucking good.
I loved it.
Oh
You know
god.
what? It's sincere absurdity.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna call it. Yeah, no, they just did everything right. I saw Limbo and Trampa Infernal. Oh, Sweetheart.
Oh, that
So
was so good.
I am a sucker for deserted island stories and lost at sea stories. I actually, when I can't sleep, I imagine myself on a piece of driftwood in the middle of the ocean, and just the lapping of the ocean is like the only sensation. Or that I'm shipwrecked and I just washed ashore of an island, which doesn't seem like it'd be relaxing, but I'm a weirdo. I don't know. It's just what I like to focus on if I can't sleep. So whenever there's stories like that, I'm like, I'm very interested in this. And that's what this is. It's a very simple story. A young woman washes ashore on a supposedly deserted island. Um, and that I don't know how much I want to reveal, because I think some of it's in the press about it, but bas-
I mean, it's a monster movie.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not like anything I've experienced. There's like a little bit of kaiju in there, but it's not like an episode of Lost or anything like that. It's just done so well. And I loved how she was smart and resourceful, but she didn't automatically turn into like a survivor expert or something. It was like a real intelligent person figuring out how to live.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple but incredibly well done film.
Yeah. It's a horror version
it.
of, it's a horror movie. It's Castaway, but with a monster.
Yeah, and you know what? But like, what, half the runtime?
Yeah. It's a quick 8 minutes, and like the lead, sorry, I burped. The lead is absolutely outstanding. She's so
I loved
good.
her.
And
again, they're very naturalistic acting in this film festival, and it worked really well.
And incredibly like smart about how they basically unfold everything. And I also like how nothing got out of hand. Like you said, like everything is well contained. Even though like the shit becomes like Predator towards the end, it was completely like 100% believable. And also probably one of the best monster reveals.
Okay, thank you. I gasped. That was done.
When that monster reveal happens, I'm like, oh
exquisite.
My God. Fucking like shot of fucking Fantastic Fest. Screenshot that, blow it up, put it in a frame. Wonderful, wonderful monster reveal. Like, literally, I was like, oh, fucking shit. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
No, like your heart leaps into your throat.
Yeah, it's so fucking good.
So glad I saw that.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be kind of a little bit of a sleeper hit. Like,
people
are gonna slowly discover that, because I think that's gonna be one of those things that's just kind of dumped on VOD. But that movie, if a good trailer was cut, that could be in theaters for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then I saw Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah.
Just the gore cut. And it was really interesting seeing it with a giant audience, and that theater was packed. Because I think I've talked about this before, but back when I was younger and I had Cinemax, that's how I saw a lot of my first horror movies. And Cinemax seemed to show Tammy and the T-Rex a lot. And while it's not a straight horror movie, it was kind of a bridge to me being obsessed with Jurassic Park and then seeing some weird stuff that was a little more adult than I was used to seeing. And I haven't seen the movie since like puberty. So that was interesting. um, I now that I'm old, I caught all the jokes that I was too young to understand back then. And like I literally think I was sitting next to like a 19-year-old who probably had never heard of the movie before, and he was losing his shit. So yeah, if you've actually seen this movie before, definitely see this cut. And if you've never seen it before, it's such a stupid, weird movie. You can't miss it.
Yeah, it's and I'm one of those people that I believe that the film kind of is still fun standing alone without the gore. Like
I could see that. I mean, it's Terry Kaiser.
Yeah,
and one of the guys who's one of his bodyguards, a mannequin too.
So like it plays like the gore stuff is fun. There's like literally 10 minutes of like extra shit with gore and cursing and stuff like that. But that adds a little bit to the movie, but still the film itself, like people were laughing hysterically at the normal movie.
Oh yeah, it's very goofy.
Yeah, and it's just it really is a lot of fun. Yeah, it's so much fun because you have Paul Walker who can't do anything on screen.
Baby in it.
He's like so Paul Walker turned out to be a really great. I loved his work. I think Joyride is still one of the best thrillers of like 2000s. He's fantastic. He's so charismatic. He's so lovable. Like even in Fast and the Furious, just that line when after Dom beats him in the race, he goes, "I almost had you," and he's like smiling. It's just like he's incredibly charming, just like amazing. But he can't fucking act in this. He's so fucking bad. But it adds all the charm to it. You have Denise Richards, who watched way too many soap operas, who's doing this melodrama acting that doesn't fit in the movie. Terry Kaiser's just having fun. He said, "Fuck it, I'm getting paid. I'm just gonna have some fun." And then you have the guy that plays Billy, who's just in a different movie, who's being way too mean for the movie. It's like, wait, this is a family movie. No, Billy's in it. And it gets so fucking like just the nut grabbing scene alone. It happens within the first 5 minutes of the movie, and that sets the tone for what you're going to see. Yeah, the nut off, and like it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's so much fun, and it's playing so well with crowds, and I'm happy for it. So yeah.
And that new artwork you guys have for it, I'm not a bit. I love posters, but I don't really collect them or display them very much. But that I kind of want a gigantic poster of.
Yeah, I believe that's in the works. But yeah, Thomas Hodge really knocked it out of the park with that artwork.
Yeah, it really captures the bonkers spirit of that movie. Okay, and then I saw Coco Da, which is kind of a fable movie. It's kind of like a childhood fable, but in a horror thing. And I didn't really like it. It's darkly whimsical. It's really selling like the dark fairy tale thing. And it does have some very creepy moments. But overall, they just didn't sell it enough. Like, in my opinion, if you're going to bring in fairy tale moments into something, especially when the rest of the film is grounded, you have to go all the way. Like, you have to like yank the audience into like a storybook, basically. And this one, it just kind of felt like it kind of lightly tapped you on the shoulder with it. So I didn't really buy into it, unfortunately. And then I saw Parasite with you.
Yes.
You know what? One of the most giant hyped movies of the festival. We loved it, right?
I loved Parasite. I loved not knowing what I was going to watch.
Same.
I
Yeah.
think
The second people said, "Don't watch the trailer. Don't get spoiled," I was like, "Okay, okay, I won't. I won't."
But the thing is, I watched the trailer and I had no idea what to watch because I was
Yeah,
like,
no, I did watch the trailer before I saw the warnings. I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't know what's going on, so that's okay."
yeah, it was like I'm watching the trailer and I'm like, oh, okay. It's kind of funny when he says like, we'll get the fumigation, pest control for free, ha ha ha, and it's like, oh, they're conning people, and then the music changes and I'm like, what is this, a fucking horror movie? Like, what the fuck am I watching? And honestly, that's how the tone of the movie is. I'm not going to say exactly what's happening, but the movie is brutal. It's hilarious. It's just everything.
It is, yeah. And I was kind of wondering like how horror it would get, or if it would somehow become paranormal or something. And is actually more grounded than I thought it would be, even though it definitely goes full tilt for sure. It's about family, and and when I say it's about family, not in like a generic sweeping way, but like what it's like when you see your dad being humiliated, or what happens when you can't even afford a full meal and like everyone has to eat junk food. And not every family has experience, but a lot of families have, where you hit a point economically where you on a daily basis see each other humiliated, and that's such a devastating feeling, and I've never seen it portrayed in a film better than I have in Parasite. um, and that informs the rest of the plot, and that really stuck with me.
Yeah. No, I dug it a lot. I really really enjoyed it. Well, you saw
And
a
then
lot of. Whoa!
I, clo-
Oh wait, you closed it out. That's
I
right.
closed it out with Knives Out. Hey. Yeah, the new Ryan Johnson, big, splashy, giant cast. You have everybody in it. Yeah, and it was fun. I didn't fall in love with it quite as much as a lot of people seem to. I don't know if I'm ruined because I read a lot of mystery novels. So to me, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is pretty much what they're like. But yeah, it's a fun cast. Great acting. It looks beautiful, but it's not quite as grandiose as the trailer makes it seem to be. At the end of the day, it's a pretty basic what happened, how kind of movie. It's not even fully a who done it because they reveal a lot. You're just not sure about every single part of the machination. Um, but yeah, it's just like it's a fun movie. You know, if you miss in the theaters, don't beat yourself up. It's actually like a really solid one to stream, I would say. But it was fun. It was fun. But actually, I think it if Parasite was the last one I saw, that would have been like the big wallop of the festival for me.
You say wallop.
I said wallop.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that was another thing that was like people were kind of talking about like behind the scenes, like, oh, this movie is playing this big movie is playing at the end of Fantastic Fest. And it was like Ryan Johnson, like Brick played at Austin Film Festival. Fucking Brothers Bloom and Looper played at Fantastic Fest. Like, give it a fucking break. Like, this is one of his homes here. That's the reason why
Yeah.
Knives Out's playing. But anyways, cool. I will. You took way too long, so I don't have much time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You weren't speedy at all. I'm kidding.
It's just a lot of movies.
Yeah, so real quick, I'm gonna go through the things that I saw that Steph
So
did not.
terrible now.
I'm kidding. So I saw After Midnight, which was known as Something Else, which is the Jeremy Gardner Christian Stella flick. Stars Bria Grant and has I guess Justin Benson in it. Yeah, that guy. They co-produced it with the guys. It filmed in Florida, actually. I'm a little biased when it comes to these guys because they're buddies of mine. But I'm also critical of my friends and will tell them when something isn't that good. However, I didn't get to say that for this movie because I told them how much I enjoyed it because it really is great. It really is a love story with a monster in the background. So, long story short, he is broken up from his girlfriend from a long time because he has a fear of commitment. And when she leaves, there's a monster that starts to attack his house. So, in the daytime, he daydreams and falls asleep, so he can stay awake all night because the monster is hunting him. He daydreams and thinks about her. So it's all flashbacks to when the best times of their life, to the start, to how it all boiled down to when they broke up.
Aw.
And it's really, really sweet. It's really well written. Bria's al- always great, and then it's incredibly well shot. Christian Stella is a fantastic cinematographer. Um, Beautiful nighttime shots, and basically it leads up to them talking again, and then dealing with this monster on the side. It's very, very funny. It literally has the movie's good. The movie's okay, but the third act fucking sells this movie so fucking hard. It's ridiculous. Like the third
Damn.
act is literally one of the best third acts I've seen in a long time. It completely changes the movie. It's like one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, this movie's okay, and then like that third act happens, and then the movie just becomes completely awesome because now each time you watch it, you're waiting for that, finale, and it's really, really good, done on a tight budget. Wonderful movie.
That sounds cool as well.
Yeah, I loved it. Next up was another film that I really love, was Joe Begus's Bliss. This is kind of his return. He had two movies there, so I'll just do both because I did it as a double feature. With VFW was the first film that played, then they followed up with a midnight screening of Bliss that was screened on from 35 millimeter print. So Joe Begas started off at Fantastic Fest with his film Almost Human, which is very much of an homage to The Thing with John Carpenter. And then he followed up with I loved Almost Human. Then he followed up with I Didn't Really Care for The Mind's Eye, which is more or less Scanners, a telekinesis horror. It's like like Scanners
Yeah,
4,
yeah.
basically. And I didn't really care for that, but I was really excited to see that he's back because he got two movies, and really they are just fucking wonderful. Two completely different styles.
I heard mixed things on VFW, but everyone seems to love Bliss.
Yeah, Bliss is like a drug fueled Abel Ferreira vampire nightmare movie.
Holy shit! Okay.
So it's really, really well done. It's a really great story as far as like apparently Joe went through some shit, and he's very open about it. And basically, Bliss is his kind of downward spiral as far as like what happened to him in real life. He transcends to on screen of this girl that's an artist that becomes a vampire and needs blood in order to even continue. Very much with kind of, I guess, with drugs as far as like that is concerned, of what the troublesome. So it was very a personal movie for him because it was basically, I guess, his life for a very short time. It's really great. It's bloody as shit. Shot on 16 millimeter. It gets really fucking brutal. It's wonderful camera work. It's loud as fuck. It's mixed beautifully. And then he also had VFW, which is more of kind of what Almost Human was like, but very throwback-ish, John Carpenter Assault on Precinct 13 type vibe. Synth score by Steve Moore, which he actually scored Bliss and VFW. It has an all-star cast, fucking David Patrick Kelly, William Sadler, fucking Martin Cove, the dude from Cheers. I can't think of his name now. George
Wendt?
Yeah, George Wendt. Fucking Martin Cove. Just has this great fucking Fred Williams. Did I say Fred Williamson? Anyways, if I did, he deserves to be called.
He's worth twice, yeah.
Named twice. So it's basically Stephen Lang. So it's just this entourage of fucking badasses. They have a bar that Stephen Lang owns. It's kind of like this almost like dystopian type setting too. There's this drug on the streets that basically has changed America. Like America's falling apart, but there's this little headquarters, little bar area, VFW, or a VFW place that Stephen Lang just has his old war buddies that come in, trade stories, talk about, women, that type of thing. They are all there drinking, and then they're on the side at this abandoned movie theater where these drug lords kind of stay. There's a girl that steals some drugs, and she runs from them and hides out in the bar. And these drug fueled fuckers basically are going to be rewarded drugs if they go in and kill her. So you have just this onslaught of junkies that are trying to get into the bar with these old vets. So it's very much like Assault on Precinct 13 kind of meets this From Dusk Till Dawn vibe. And it's bloody. It's awesome. It's such a crowd pleaser. It's such a good movie to watch with the crowd. It doesn't let up. It's like 80 minutes of the fastest paced shit ever. There's no like waiting around. It literally dives right in. It was really great because during the Q&A, they've really said that they had a script, but since they're all veteran actors, they just kind of let them do what they want. And it was really great because they said they would do a take and it would be really, really good, but they needed to get like another shot or maybe something else. Maybe something didn't really fit as far as whatever's in the background. So they would say, do it again. And they're like, we can't, we made all that up. We have no idea what we just said. Like, it was just literally banter between them. So it was just probably like hours and hours of B-roll of just them bitching at one another. And it really flows very well. You can tell that everybody was having a really good time because that dialogue is flawless. Like, it's really fucking funny, and then it just gets insane.
Damn, I gotta see these.
So yeah, it's really good. Joe Begas is definitely back. Like, he's got 2 killer ass movies. Next up was Blood Machines, which is Carpenter Brute's sequel to Turbo Killer. I like his music a lot. I like his music videos quite a bit. Blood Machines is very much, it looks fantastic. It sounds amazing. It's just really boring.
Oh, that's
stupid. And it really is just a music video, and it takes way too long. Great visuals, though. Wonderful visuals. Those guys whoever did that needs to make a movie. Because if they can make that type of thing on that small ass budget, I'd like to see that. Give them a few $1 million to see what they can do. Next up was Butt Boy, which I knew was a big Fantastic Fest movie. It sounds like Fantastic Fest. Much like The Death of Dick Long, this movie's played completely straight with an absurd plot. So it's basically this guy who has a normal and boring life. And he has a prostate exam one day because he doesn't go to the doctor, and it's his first prostate exam because he's in his 30s. And so the doctor puts, basically his fingers in his ass, and he realizes that this is a revelation for him. He loves it. So he tries to get his wife to finger his ass when he's having sex with her. Played completely straight, by the way. Like, there's no giggling. There's no funny stuff. It's just literally that's what he wants. So he one day sees a remote. So he puts it up his ass. But what he doesn't know is that they get lost in his ass. So he starts off with smaller objects, and to the point where he's putting animals and children up his ass.
What?
So play completely straight. All straight. So he gets really depressed. So there's an incident that happens, and years later, he goes through therapy, and then he starts back up again. So it becomes like he's a serial killer, is what he's doing. But he just shoves people up his asshole. So it's basically this detective linking these two incidents together while the detective's in AA with him. So it's basically he doesn't know that he's tracking this guy. It's actually a brilliant like idea. It's just literally instead of killing people and slaughtering them, he's shoving them up his asshole.
Oh yeah, Tails all this time.
So, but it's not graphic. There's nothing like that. Like you're not seeing like people being shoved up an asshole. It's like literally he looks at
Okay.
stuff and it's like, oh, that's what's happening.
Are the sound effects graphic?
No.
They're like swoop.
No, that's the thing. It's played completely straight. It's just
Okay.
that he'll look at something and eyeball it, and then the camera will focus on
Next
that,
thing
and the
you
next thing
know.
it's gone. Like so, it's literally it's played completely straight. It's not laughable in that sense. It's just absurd, and it's really fucking good. And
Okay.
yeah, it's really really good. Next up was the Cleansing Hour. Nope. This watch The Last Exorcism instead, because that's a decent movie. Next up was The Golden Glove. This movie's gonna cause a lot of people a lot of being upset. It's a true story about a guy in Germany who was a serial killer, who was an alcoholic, and it is his. I enjoyed it because it's literally an excerpt of this guy's life. There's no backstory. It's literally just a few days of him and him trying to rehabilitate himself from this death and destruction that he causes.
See, that one, when I read about it on the Fantastic Fest site, it felt like it was trying to talk me out of seeing the film.
I would
And
talk
it
you out of
worked
seeing
because I
it.
didn't.
Oh, you saw it?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if you would like it. It's incredibly violent, and it's very, very, very mean. There are some scenes in this movie that I was like, fuck, like that's heavy. There's a strangulation scene that goes on for about 5 minutes, and I still don't know how they did it.
See, I will say that it didn't seem like a ton of people saw it, but those who did said, wow, it was so affecting. And I feel like it brutalized me. I don't know if I ever need to see it again, but damn, it definitely accomplished what it set out to do.
Yeah, it's like I really like it because it's really just an excerpt of this serial killer's life. But god damn, it's mean. Like,
All right.
yeah, and
Fair
very
enough.
brutal. Yeah, like it's really and it's shot in such a way that it's very kind of voyeuristic at that sense. Like there's not a lot of cuts. It's literally like the camera's set back and you're watching him like bring a woman into his apartment, get them drunk, and then beat them up. And there's like, obviously like kind of like obviously they're under the influence, so it is rape, but it's just like it just goes on, and it's really, really tough. Yeah.
Okay.
Next up was Guns Akimbo. Oh, Jazzy.
I was wondering what that was.
I think she's snoring.
I really wanted to see Guns Akimbo.
Guns Akimbo is going to be a fucking powerhouse when it comes out. Fucking Daniel Radcliffe, Samara Weaving, they are so good. It is, it's crank on crack, is what this movie is.
You need to put that on the internet so they put that on the poster.
It really is crank on crack. It is it's by the director of Deathgasm. It is a futuristic world where games are played online. As far as I forget the name of the gaming thing that they have. It starts with an S. So, anyways, you are set out and you have people that are watching where they will have a champion of surviving a slaughterhouse, basically, of people trying to kill you, you go after the other. So it's this big game, and you have to go after them, or the company will kill you. So Daniel Radcliffe plays a guy who is a content creator for a gaming app called like Nut Job or something like that, where you're a squirrel trying to get acorns for your iPhone. One night he gets drunk and he logs into this system and he just starts hassling people that are watching this. Because it really is terrible. Like, they're just killing innocent people and killing each other. So he trash talks some moderators, and then next thing you know it, they show up, and they're like, okay, you're in the game now. And they literally bolt guns to his hands, and he has 50 rounds in each hand. And they're like, like the chamber goes all the way up his forearms. So he can't like open doors or shit like that easily.
Oh, God.
He's literally got 2 guns bolted to his hands. And then Samara Weaving's character is after him while he's also trying to save his girlfriend. And it's just fucking chaos. It really is. It's so much gunfire, so much bloodshed. It's crank on crack for real. The soundtrack is fucking insane. There's so many needle drops. It's complete fucking chaos. And it's so good.
And I love Deathgasm. I need it. Okay.
Yeah, and Samara Weaving is insane. She plays a fucking cracked out bounty hunter. And she's crazy. You
sold it, Brad. You sold it.
So good. Next up was Homewrecker, which I really like. This is kind of a mixed bag at Fantastic Fest. It's the girl from Starry Eyes, Alex Cuso, something like that.
I really like that.
She's a interior designer, and she meets this woman at a coffee shop, and she's a little out there. But she talks her back into going to her home to look at it to see if she could work out some stuff for interior design, because she's lived there for so many years and it still looks like shit. So she goes, and she traps her, and it gets insane.
Ooh.
But it's very comical. It's a very, very funny movie, not played straight, but wonderful acting. I also heard that there's this age difference too. Like the woman that plays, she's probably like in her 40s, late 40s, maybe early 50s, if that. I'm sorry if you're not. But she does look like she's older. And Alex Esso, that's her name. Alex Esso is like, looks like she's in her 20s. So there's big age difference with the characters. But they also, I guess, co-wrote the script together, which is really fun. And it's hilarious, and it just gets really crazy. It very much reminded me of Catfight or LD2K. Or
okay.
is it LD2K? Or 2LDK? It's an old, you know what I'm talking about? It's an old Japanese movie where 2 girls are living in an apartment and they start fighting one another.
Yeah.
But anyways, very much like that. Just hilariousness. Homewrecker. We didn't talk about The Lodge.
Oh yeah.
So I really like The Lodge. I love movies about there's 3 things that I love. You like desert island and shipwreck people. There's 3 things that I love: cults, Satan, religion, mixed, I guess grief too. You put cults and Satan together, grief and religion. Like, I love all of that shit. That's my bread and butter. This movie has all 3. And I personally loved The Lodge quite a bit.
I'm a sucker for those things too. Yeah. That's the movie I cried during it. Yeah. If you have a religious background, it might get to some things for you. But yeah, just like I wasn't sure about it at first. I thought, like, oh, it's gonna be like one of those pretentious ones that they move too slowly and it doesn't really mean anything. It's like, no, it's just taking its time, like having ice grow under your skin. Like, oh,
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really good. Next up was the Mortuary Collection, which is Ryan Spindle's feature. So Ryan Spindle hit kind of the scene in 2000, I guess 15, with a short that played basically at every film festival, called The Babysitter Murders. It is literally one of the best shorts I've ever seen in my entire life. It's so fucking good. Anyways, he made a feature film, basically a kind of anthology where this girl goes to a mortuary for a job, but the caretaker owner wants to tell her about what she'll see. So he goes into detail about certain people that have died and came there, their backstories. So each time he tells a story, it's an anthology. However, it wraps up with his short from 2015, which I thought was, like, I get it. You made such an awesome short. You want everybody to see it. But also it's, he edited around it to make it different a little bit, because like when you watch a short, you have the opening, you have the middle, and you have the credits, and the middle and the ending are fiddled with a little bit, which kind of takes the fun out of a certain aspect of the short. It's kind of taken out. So I didn't really care for that. And I also thought the other stories that he had just weren't very good.
that's too bad.
So it was a little bit of a bummer. And it's also like 2 hours long. So it's like, eh. But Clancy Brown plays the caretaker, and he's fucking great.
He's always great.
So don't watch the short and watch the movie, because then if you watch the short, it gives away what's happening in the movie too. So I kind of knew what was going to happen, and that kind of ruined it as well. So yeah, I just wasn't pleased with it. Other one was Nail in the Coffin, which is a documentary about the wrestler Vampiro. Not a wrestling guy, so I don't know much about Vampiro, but I knew a little bit about him because I did watch wrestling for like 6 months of my life. So I remember him with the Misfits. That was the thing I do remember. It's basically the rise and fall of Vampiros, which this is what it's called. It's called Nail in the Coffin, the rise and fall of Vampiro. So it's basically an intimate, very invasive documentary about his relationship with his daughter, which is very sweet and very good. It just takes a while to kind of get to that aspect, but it is really touching because, he was, it was somebody that really tried, for Mexican culture, because wrestling started in Mexico. Basically them growing up watching like luchadors and stuff like that it was just wrestling. For them, it was just this crazy lifestyle that people would lead. Him being really into it and starting basically from nothing, getting into like the WWE, but not being a big superstar, but being a big superstar in his country. And basically what he does now is, as far as like his job and his relationship with his daughter, it's well done. I liked it. I do like the daddy-daughter aspect more than the actual documentary itself.
Fair enough.
Night Drive, which has everybody I love, but man, that movie's incredibly boring, so I'll move along. The other Lamb, which is another movie that deals with religion and cults. It's a beautiful film. It's incredibly well shot, great acting. Just did not fulfill everything I need, but it is very well liked amongst the people that did see it. So watch it. Let me know. It's just very slow. Next up was The Pool. So The Pool is really, really, really good, as in the confinements of being the most absurd and ridiculous movie that you'll probably see this year. but it has a belief. Like, here's the thing: is like I tell people, I've told people about it when people are telling me about it. They're like, "It's ridiculous. This guy gets trapped in a pool," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "That's not so ridiculous. That happens in Florida. like people go to clean a pool and then they can't get out. Like the ladder's too high, or people like fall into the pool and literally can't get out. Like it's a normal thing. Like some pools in Florida. I'm not sure if this is everywhere else. Maybe just Florida because it's how pools are mainly built because you can't dig that deep in Florida or you'll hit water. So like it's not like public pools where there's a shallow end and a deep end. Like that's a normal thing that people know about. But in Florida, there's a lot of, hey, this pool is just 6 feet deep, like diving pools. So this is abandoned pool where they're filming a commercial, and the commercial wraps up, and so the guy is taking care of a few things, like after everybody leaves, so he's alone, and he's just going to chill out, and he's going to lay in the middle of the pool. But the pool, he falls asleep, and the pool starts to drain.
Ooh.
So he is in the pool, and a crocodile shows up and gets in the pool with him. So he literally has to not fall asleep and worry about going hungry, needing water, and fending for his life with this crocodile. And this is where it gets ridiculous because every single thing that can go wrong goes wrong. Like it is fuck up after fuck up after fuck up to the point where it's hilarious. Like you're wanting to see, please do something next so I can see you fail. And that's exactly what it is. And then you actually see somebody throw a crocodile, which I laughed out loud and said, oh fuck.
Well, yeah.
Because I tell you what, no matter how angry you are or how big you are, I don't care if you're Mr. World or Mr. Olympia, you're not picking up a fucking crocodile. Like, that shit is not going to happen. One, because that shit's going to fucking bite you. Two, alligators and crocodiles are heavy motherfuckers. But anyways,
I believe you're from Florida.
It's perfect because it's like this type of shit could happen in Florida. So this is actually a documentary probably, but it's just hilarious because of all the shit that goes wrong. So it's just one of those things where you're like, like you're constantly doing that. I can't imagine watching this, the audience just fucking laughing and clapping and then just saying aw like every 3 minutes because that's how often something wrong happens.
No, this is the one I got the most festival FOMO from because everyone came out of it like, what the fuck? I was like, oh man.
Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So while everybody was seeing Jojo Rabbit, I didn't want to see that because I'll see it later. I was very interested in. So this movie is presented as, hey, Jay Baruchel wrote a horror movie and he's in it. I'm like, oh, funny horror film, cool. Nope. Jay Baruchel is funny in the movie, but this movie's fucked up. Like, it is brutal. It has
What's the title?
Random Acts of Violence. And it really is Random Acts of Violence. So it's basically this comic book artist had an incident in his life that he knew about with this killer on this highway, so he based a comic book around these killings. And however, the killer is not dead and real. And so while he's trying to finish up his last issue, the killer, I guess, knows about that and doesn't want that to happen. So he goes after the writer and his crew because they're doing this cross-country trip to have inspiration for this last book. He has trouble knowing how to end it. So the killer stalks them, doing random acts of violence on their trail, and so they know that he's hunting them. And it is not nice. I was sitting there thinking, when am I going to laugh?
Make me laugh, Jay.
Where's the funny parts? Where's the goon? I'm ready for goon, you know? And no, it's not. It's just really mean and has a huge punch in the face for social commentary. Unlike anything I loved it because it was completely unexpected. So that was great. Sea Fever. It's okay. It's a ship out in the water that's dealing with a flesh-eating parasite. Sounds a lot better than it actually is, but the movie's not all that bad. I don't have a lot of good things to say about it, so I'll leave it. I gave it like a 2.5 out of 5. Okay. Wrinkles the Clown, a documentary of a real thing that's in Florida. I
really wanted to see that.
As a Floridian, I'm very aware of Wrinkles the Clown. It has made national news. I knew about it before it hit national news because it happened in Florida. It's real. The guy's still active. He's still scaring people. It's a documentary about a clown for hire that will scare the shit out of your kids. And you can call him up and he'll be Wrinkles the Clown. And you pay him to come to your house and scare the shit out of your kids. And it's fucking funny. And it's a documentary about how he started, where he's at. He remains anonymous. His face is not shown. No one knows his real name, mainly because he would be hassled even more than he already is. Even though it's probably not that hard to look it up since he puts his phone number everywhere. Probably figure out his name. But anyways, it's really, really funny, and it opens up, I think, tomorrow, Friday. So today's the 3rd. It opens up this weekend, or last weekend when you're listening to this episode, I guess. So yeah, see that. And last but not least, I'll save one of my favorites, which was VHYES. Very, very sweet, well-made. It's directed by Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon's son. Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon produced it, which is very, very sweet. I think it's kind of a family affair type thing. And it is presented as you put in a VHS tape of this kid who got a video camera for Christmas. So it's him recording himself, taping over his parents' wedding accidentally. So it's basically watching this tape of compilation of things that are taped over. So he discovers that you can plug it into your camera into your VCR and record off television. So he records stuff off television and while he flicks through the channels. So it has, an older movie, it has softcore porn, it has that old pay-per-view scrolling station that would tell you what's coming up next. Soap operas, like a Bob Ross, but it's all funny. It's all like parody. Like there's Joan Ross instead of Bob Ross. And she's literally steals the show, like every one of her segments. And they have exercise stuff. So he's like constantly flicking back and forth while taking out the tape and also recording him and his friends doing shit. And there is this one sequence in the movie where it's not meant to be, I guess, I don't know, maybe it is because it got me. There's a scene in the movie so random that it's so fucking sad to me. And then there's this kind of narrative with him and his family too, with his mom and dad, and that got to me. And then I'm not gonna tell you, but this shit goes for a fucking spin, and then it becomes something else, and I'm like, what the fuck can't this, like, this movie does everything. And it is really, really, really good. If people are fans of like the WNUF Halloween special, it's very much kind of like that, but I think it's a little bit better because of the comedy. Also, the dude from Reno 911, the one with the shorty shorts.
Tom Lennon?
Yeah, Tom Lennon. He's in it. He's fucking funny as hell.
I love him.
He's on the QVC network. So he's a QVC host, and they keep flicking back and forth. And then the other guy, Mark something, he's the soul sucking vampire in What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, okay.
Or the fun vampire. He sucks the fun out of things, or he bores you.
No, yeah, the emotional
Yeah,
vampire.
emotional
That
vampire.
energy vampire.
Yeah. So he's in it. He plays one of those like what do you call it? Like appraisal people. Like you bring something on
like
the show.
Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's Antique Roadshow, and he tells you what you have, but it's also really funny.
Okay,
Like,
I'm gonna see if I can request the screener.
Yeah,
So,
it's
sounds
really
fun.
it's really funny. It's really charming. Also, when Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins show up, it's really funny. There's a couple other familiar faces in there. The softcore porn thing is probably my favorite, just because I remember watching stuff like that, like on Cinemax. Yeah, they have one called Hot Winter, and that's the name of the movie. And they keep on talking about how it's hot in winter. And it's like, it's just really fucking funny. But yeah, it's really, really good. I'm surprised it didn't make a little bit more buzz at Fantastic Fest, because it's totally a Fantastic Fest movie. But yeah, that was our Fantastic Fest roundup. Only took 3 hours.
So I think it was successful. It was my first time, but you're a veteran. Do you think it was a success?
I mean, honestly, I was at the table a lot. So it was very, I'm working and also networking and, meeting new people, which is great, because I'm definitely one of those people that will always ask, what do you do? Because I'm pretty personable. You know me, I'll talk to anybody. But yeah, I like meeting new people. So I always consider meeting new friends, new people, watching some great movies. I just wish I had better food. That's the only complaint I have. Fantastic Fest. South by is a little bit different because there's a lot of traveling involved. So you're going across town, so you can stop off places. At Fantastic Fest, you're pretty much grounded because there's only like 45 minutes or an hour between movies, and then they board like 30 minutes before. So you want to make sure you
get any
seat.
barbecue. I was in Austin. I didn't get a chance to get any barbecue.
That's the thing, is like the Draft House is so backwards. Like, I don't know what the fuck their problem is. They need to have tacos and barbecue on the menu all the fucking time. And they don't. It drives me fucking crazy. And they have have too much of a gourmet menu. But it's like gourmet fast food. And it drives me crazy because it's like $15 for a fucking burger. They do have like the festival prices, but still, all that food is cooked in some weird type of fucking grease. And like, I can't. I literally lived off the breakfast tacos. They finally got breakfast tacos, or any taco in their capacity. They've always had like a festival burrito, but always had potatoes in it. And I don't want that shit. So I literally ate breakfast tacos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the Draft House.
Rebel.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit more successful for me. But man, you killed it at that Vinegar Syndrome table. That thing was like the anchor of the lobby.
Yeah, no, it was really, really great. A lot of people that come, it's weird because you might think, sitting here listening to the show and like, oh, I buy Vinegar Syndrome movies. You'd be surprised of how many people at Fantastic Fest, that are within the film community have no idea who we are. And that's not a bad thing, because that's just new customers. And so it's really nice. That's why I always say, when people say that, they're like, oh man, no one knows who you are. I was like, well, I kind of prefer that, because that's new customers and new people I can talk to, and a lot of people, and another thing with our label is just that a lot of movies that we release, people really don't know about, because they really are kind of, the dark, dingy corners of, the film industry. So some of our titles aren't very well known. So a lot of people coming up at the table and just like, I don't know what to choose. So it's always that question, like, what do you recommend? But I always ask, what do you like? Because I want you to come back. I don't want to recommend my favorite and then be terrible.
Right.
If you don't like, rape revenge movies, I'm not going to recommend any rape revenge movies. If you don't like art house, I'm definitely not going to recommend an art house film to you. That type of thing. But I had honestly a lot of people. Like a couple people were drunk, but it's what they want. They hand me their card and they're like, pick me out 5 things. It's like, all right, what do you like? And literally I probably had maybe 4 or 5 people do that this year.
That would be fun.
So
I feel like that would be fun.
And I gave them a card. I said, here's the card. You can email us if you don't like the movies. Let me know. You're not getting your money back, but let me know what you think. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. Lots of cool people coming to the table. Justin Long is a big genre fan. I didn't really realize that. But he knew a lot of the movies that we had on the table. He was a fan of Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah.
So that was kind of neat. Mike came up to the table and picked up a few things. He doesn't speak English very well, but he did.
What did he get?
I don't think he bought anything.
Oh.
Yeah, he was actually at the table. Like, we were always we had 3 or 4 people always at the table. So it was kind of hard to keep up with what people were grabbing. But I sold. I said personally, I sold a ton of pledge nights because
you sold me a pledge night.
Well, yeah, it's one of people ask me what's my they always, that's another very, very common thing. Like, seriously, 70% of the people what's your favorite thing on the table, and I always went to the telephone book or pledge night. And I'm honest, I'm not biased when it comes to label, because I sometimes I don't like movies that we release, but it's also not going to sit there and trash it, but I'm not going to recommend it over something like, the telephone book or whatever, because that's the whole thing is I don't, you can even consider it a salesman. I don't want to sell something to people that I'm not confident in, that I don't know if they will like. Because I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to movies. My typical rating on everything is 2.5 out of 5. If I'm not bored, I give it a 2.5. So, but I'm also going, if somebody picks up, for example, you and I like Star Time, but I'm probably not going to recommend Star Time to the normal person that walks up to the table.
Fair enough.
Just because I know how that movie plays to a wider audience. Now, if I knew you and you walked up to the table, I'd probably recommend Star Time. But to the normal kind of genre fan, I'm not going to. I'm going to recommend, Demon Wind or Graduation Day or Madman, something like that. But, everybody has different tastes. That's what I try to get to. And I think that was very successful on doing that, and kind of making people make sure they get the right things, or something that I know that they would enjoy. So, but we hope to continue this tradition at Fantastic Fest. It's kind of a staple at Fantastic Fest, is having Vinegar Syndrome booth there, because it does very well, and we turn people on to new cinema. We had 2 films play there, which was great, Prey and Taming the T-Rex. And definitely a lot of new fans because of Tammy.
Yeah, it seemed like a good partnership.
Yeah, people really liked it. It was really funny. I mean, I could talk about this now. Is that so when I contacted Evram, who's one of the programmers, and Noah and Brian Kelly, 2 of the other programmers. So I, was talking to them. Noah's a good friend of mine. Noah Lee is one of the head programmers there. And so it's like, hey, we had Sudden Fury last year. This year, we had Tammy and the T-Rex, and he was like, oh, I know that movie. I don't know about that. And I was like, well, there's a score cut. It's like, it's like 12 minutes longer. It's a hard R, basically. There's, violence, there's blood, there's cursing. And I said, it's by the director of Mac and Me. And he was like, oh, Mac and Me sucks. And I was like, yeah, but have you ever seen the original ending to Mac and Me? And he was like, no. So I sent him the original ending to Mac and Me. And have you seen the original ending to Mac and Me?
No.
All right. So for the audience and you, at the original ending of Mac and Me that was cut, basically, last minute, was the kid wheelchairs himself very fast to go get in front of Mac, and the policeman shoots him right in his chest and kills him, the little boy. And then they fire on Mac's family and kill the family of aliens.
Okay.
This is by the director Tammy and the T-Rex. So, like, it just has this brutal ending. And so, basically, the studio was like, no, we can't do that. Kids aren't liking this, because it's a kid's movie. So they cut out that ending. And, they did place the other thing. But, so, basically, this ending is lost. But they didn't cut out the ending in Japan. So the only way to actually see that ending was a Japanese Laserdisc or VHS. So I was like, well, where's the score? It's like literally 3 days later, I get a text saying, well, you made it into Fantastic Fest. We have to play this thing, which was great because, they could see obviously the potential as far as the audience. And I was there for, we actually had opening night, which was great. We played after Jojo Rabbit at 8:00, and a full house. And we had a second screening, which apparently was a full house too. And the audience just went fucking berserk. Like,
yeah,
literally,
no kidding.
in the first 5 minutes between Paul Walker's goofy looking face walking in and the awful opening song for Do the T-Rex song that plays, to the melodrama Leave Me Alone when Denise Richards runs away with her arms flailing in the air, to Paul Walker eating a flower, to the nut grab. This is all in 5 minutes.
To the ending.
Yeah. But this is all in the first 5 minutes, is eating a flower, melodrama, and the nut off was what you called it.
Yeah. And the song.
Yeah, and it's like, doesn't make any sense because they're grabbing each other's nuts. And then, Billy's hurt and Paul Walker gets up. But, Paul Walker was like, and they're like, why aren't you in pain? He's like, I'm wearing a cup. I was like, bitch, why were you in pain the whole time? None of the movie makes sense. It's completely absurd, but that's the beauty in it. And it really is a fun crowd pleaser, and it's playing so well. And the cool thing about it is we're reaching a new audience for Vinegar Syndrome, which is awesome.
Yeah,
so we're very happy with it, and we love Fantastic Fest for having us, because it was really, really awesome. So buy Vinegar
I'm proud
Syndrome
of you,
shit.
kid. You did great.
Yeah, and I got to see a lot of movies. That's what I was telling Curtis that was with me for the first half. He's like, do we just stand here in the lobby? And I said, honestly, no, let's just cover the table and go see a movie. Just because, no one's in the lobby especially the first few days. Once the movies are playing, no one's standing around the lobby. And plus, people are respectful. We're on the honor system here. So, but yeah, you gonna come next year?
If they'll have me, definitely.
Yes. So, all right. Any last words?
No, just even if you can't make it to these festivals, just keep that kind of open-minded, spirited discovery when it comes to seeing movies out of your comfort zone, because that's what it's really about.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes seeing movies that you know nothing about turn out to be your favorites.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was something that I learned from Janet Pearson at she's the head program at South by. She gives that
Mhm.
advice: go see a movie you know nothing about, because literally 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, it's always going to be a favorite. Every
I
time
think it's 70% of what I saw I didn't know anything about.
yeah, and that's the cool thing is like, it's curated by movie lovers for movie lovers. You're gonna have stuff that you don't like. You're always gonna have that, but you're gonna walk away with a lot more films that you love and will be on your favorites list than the things that, and plus the stuff that you don't like, it's literally not the worst things you'll ever see that year.
No, and we all love bitching about movies we didn't like, so that's kind of fun
Yeah,
too.
if everybody agreed, like, that's the fun thing, is walking out of things and just not liking something is just as fun as liking something. You know, like I love when I know somebody likes something, like, hey man, how'd you like The Deeper You Dig? And then I could just make a fart noise,
Thanks.
something like that. But, anyways, it's a good time.
Yeah, let's get some sleep. Thank you for listening if you listen to this whole thing.
Oh, yeah, well, I can't wait to see what we clock in on at this. I'm just going to cut out the last 30 minutes of me just talking about Vinegar Syndrome. So, all right. Well, this is episode whatever. Go to the Screamcast and watch shit or listen to stuff.
And read stuff.
Yeah, and read. Oh, yeah, that's right, too. You have a few actual more in-depth reviews. And then also kind of snippets, right?
Yeah, I'm a very talented writer. Everyone should go read it.
There you go. I like that. I like that. So yeah, Steph wrote some stuff, and then also I guess by the time this post, Slee Stack, aka Jay Hawkinson, who was with us at Fantastic Fest, I believe he wrote up some stuff as well for the site. So go read that, listen to the show, then watch these movies. Pay attention to the show too, because the ones that we really liked will probably drop words as far as them coming out, potential release dates, distribution deals, and we'll talk about it when they basically come out. Because sometimes some of these movies that we talk about don't see distribution or a release until like a year later. Mm-hmm. So pay attention to that, because we will bring them up again of our favorites when they're released. So that's it.
That's all.
Yep. Go listen to Sean's audiobooks. That's
Woo.
it. Woohoo! All right. See you guys.
I stare at the hill and death of a face on the sand. I've seen the heaven dance and the fire on the hills. White eyes, wild heat, white light. Blood beats and the drums cry, screaming the night. They dance through the flames and they're falling, so proud to die. Hand in hand they dance on the crimson ground. Glad to dance. Shadow dance. Shadow dance. I scream as the embers glow as the colors of the night. All around the colors change and the shadows dance. Dark heart, lost dream, and life. New hope to be claimed, spoiling tonight. They dance through the flames.